Evans,
Here.
Mr. Edwards.
Here.
Ms. McGowan is absent. Your township engineer and co-director are also present.
Great, thank you. We will start with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Anybody have any comments on the agenda before we get started?
Sir?
No, sir.
Any public comment on the agenda? So we have minutes from May 23rd. I was not there, but we have a quorum excluding me for that. So if someone wants to make a motion.
I'll move to approve the minutes. Seems like I caused a lot of commotion last month.
You and me both, so I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion minutes are approved. I heard about
It was nothing. It was nothing.
that. Okay, up we have 4019 West Chester Pike. I think you'll have to go over there.
Podium.
Podium. Make sure the microphone's on.
Microphone, I just want to something. I know you guys have got the plans. This is the third. And just to follow up on a few non-plan issues.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Good evening, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Vince Mancini. I'm here this evening representing the owner of the property. And the purpose of this application, of course, is a land development. We have gone through a lot of zoning. And it went through the entire analysis under special exception for the parking garage. It is in full compliance with the C1 commercial district zoning provisions. The only variance we needed was to get a variance to use in common the loading and unloading area for the that's presently located in the Porsche dealership, which is on the western side of the property. And that was secured, and the zoning hearing board required that we formulate and submit cross easement to enable all of the parcels, which are owned by various Rock Hill Real Estate LP entities. And for example, the Porsche is owned by Rock Hill Real Estate 4 LP. The property in question this evening, which is between the Porsche dealership property and the Ferrari dealership property, which you can orient yourself by taking a look at the
Parcel 2.
Exhibit A.
Garage.
yeah, Exhibit A will identify all of the various parcels and the various dealerships and the owners of the Rock Hill Real Estate entities. Now, all of them really, though, are under the principal ownership of Mr. Stanislaus, who's here this evening. I think just to keep watch on everybody. But the whole idea was simply that the Porsche dealership has grown enormously in the last 4 years. Additional staffing, additional inventory of vehicles, just sales have increased. And that has pushed a lot of the vehicles to be parked off-site, which we don't want to do. We did get temporary parking at the Henderson facility until the completion of this parking garage. And so that's why we're trying to move this along as quickly as possible. The parking garage itself will provide 231, approximately 231 new parking spaces within the garage and or on the roof. The number increased somewhat because we had to drop the green roof because it didn't do what we thought it would do by way of getting credit for reduction of impervious ground area to eliminate seepage beds and whatever, and those type of things. But our engineer is going to address that. And tonight's going to be primarily an engineering discussion. And that will be Jake Tackett responding to the Pannoni's comments, as well as the fire marshal and the arborist comments. My introduction is very minor, like I said. If you take a look at the Exhibit A, that's the affiliated parcels that will be the basis of the false easements to gain access to the loading and unloading facility on the Porsche dealership. We're referencing and getting oriented. Exhibit B is a tax map. And the reason that that is put there, it just highlights the parcels that are owned by the various the Rock Hill real estate entities. I would also mention that the tax map shows lot 003 on the back, fronting on Boot Road. Not to worry, has nothing to do with the dealership. It's just a lot that will be developed by Mr. DeStanislaw for his own residence because he likes to be close to Newtown Square and doesn't like commuting from New Jersey every day. But that lot will also be buffered in the back with giant arborvitaes, and so the house itself and the arborvitaes will act as additional buffer for Boot Road, for the commercial zone with the C1 commercial properties in the front that are allocated for the various dealerships. If you take a look at Exhibit B, that's basically an aerial view of the or an aerial view rendering of the proposed garage. It's looking from the higher elevation, looking west, and you can see the Porsche dealership on the far left. The ground parking between the garage and the Porsche dealership belongs to the Rock Hill Real Estate 4, which got merged about 5 lots that now aggregates about 4.2 or 4 point some acres, comprising the Porsche dealership. This lot for the garage has got about 1.1, 1.2 acres, and it is owned by Rock Hill Real Estate 10 LP. And then right next to it to the right would be which you can't see it, is the old Porsche dealership, which is now occupied by the Ferrari dealership. Now, if you go to Exhibit E, you'll see an architectural rendering of what the garage will look from street level. And that's basically, it's a handsome, well architectured building. I frankly haven't seen a parking garage like this in many years, if ever. So it is a rather attractive building. And if you, again, Exhibit F, I'll just quick reference, it's just an orientation for views from the Boot Road properties. One where Mr. DeStanislaw is building his house, and another one it's an adjoining parcel that's also owned by a Rock Hill entity. It's also residential, and there will be additional giant evergreen bufferings planted in the back to again, I guess, shelter or buffer Boot Road views for those that may have some sensitivities to the parking garage. So then Exhibit G is a shot from the adjoining lot that Mr. Stanislaw is going to build on. It shows a projected buffering in the back, so you won't be able to see the not only not the garage, but a lot of the other stuff that's there now too. And exhibit G2 is a concept drawing, a concept rendering of the part of the house that is going to be built on lot 003. And also again with giant arborvitaes that will be planted in the back. That will buffer Boot Road and also Mr. DeStanislao's dwelling. And finally, the illumination always comes into play. Exhibit HI is a rendering showing illumination for, I guess, late autumn when the business hours are up to about 6:30 and it might be getting dark. So that's the illumination of the parking garage until business closes, which shouldn't be that long, maybe an hour or two, depending on the shortest days of the year. And then exhibit H2 is another low-level, low-intensity security nighttime lighting. Again, very unobtrusive, very well low-key, rather tastefully illuminated. So with those preliminary introductions, I'm going to turn it over to Jake Tackett. He's going to, unless the planning commission has any questions of me.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
Looking at exhibit A, just remind me, are all these different dealerships and lots grouped together? Is it one umbrella or are they completely separate? Because
Well,
Design-
legally, they're separate dealerships. There are basically two dealerships here now. One is the Porsche dealership on the west, and two is the Ferrari dealership on the eastern side. And both are separate entities that have been franchised by the respective manufacturer. But the common string through all of them is Mr. DeStanislao is the principal and sole owner of all of the LP interests and also the LLC interests in the RDS entities that operate the dealerships.
basically, Mr. Stanislav controls the entire complex, right?
Yes. And that makes it easy to prepare the cross easements.
That's what I wanted to make sure.
Now, there is one more dealership coming, but that is a very unique dealership. It's on the far eastern corner. It will be located on the far eastern corner, very small. Probably won't have more than 10 cars on it at any given time. And it's all interior, all the vehicles there will be stored on the interior of a building that has already been designed. And it's basically the architecture of that building has a carryover influence with the parking garage. That's why it was a lot of architecture went into designing the parking garage. And the third dealership, which we will still have to seek zoning for, is basically a RDS classic car. And when I, asked Mr. DeStanislao, I said, "Oh, classic car, what are these, used cars?" And he looked at me cross-eyed. He says, "No, these are classic cars." I said, "What's the difference?" "Well, maybe $1 million or $2 million or $3 million or $4 million, but these cars will be very rare cars, very costly, probably in the range of about 200,000 to 15 million per car." And but that again that dealership is not likely to use the garage unless it's at a high security floor level, and they don't need a lot of parking. They don't need a lot of sales activity because mostly everything is done on online, which is the same is true for the Ferrari dealership. They took over the old Porsche dealership. The old Porsche dealership sold 850 cars a year. The Ferrari will only sell like 65. So, but like I said, the parking garage is there as a safety valve. If parking is needed, it will be provided on site. And and that's the sole purpose. The garage will only be used by affiliated dealerships on the campus. It will only be used for inventory cars, employee car parking. And basically, I don't even think automotive cars that are being repaired, maybe, but not likely. Again, all for dealership related activities. So it was the only answer that we could find to keep everything on site. And it does provide for 231 cars now. So any other question? Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jake Tackett, and he can start going through the township engineer's comments, and all of us are here to respond to any questions that you may have at any time.
Good evening. My name is Jake Tackett. I am with T&M Associates. We are the civil engineering consultant for the applicant and this project redevelopment. We are in receipt of Benoni's Township Comment Review Letter dated June 27th, 2024. The review letter from the fire marshal dated May 31st, 2024, and the arborist review letter dated June 14th, 2024. We are prepared to discuss how we intend to comply with each of these comments. I will try to avoid being redundant, as Vince has done a great job explaining the intended use and operations of the proposed redevelopment. The short answer is we intend to comply with all comments as they're stated. I will caveat that with, if you wouldn't mind going to the sheet 6.
While she's going, I can ask a quick question.
Of course, yes, at any time.
The Benoni letter says, okay, it's an 18,650 square foot parking structure.
That is correct.
And I'm looking at page 4, it says it's that 18,650 footprint. I guess that's not.
So I apologize for the inconsistency here. We were still working or continue to work through final square footages with the architect as it relates to the minor.
That's right, because I looked at the
elements.
zoning chart and I was like, yeah, this math doesn't work.
Yeah, yes. I
Okay.
apologize. So we will commit to the square footage that it was associated with the approved zoning plan. And that is the footprint of the parking structure.
And I have just, before you start, one question. I was looking at the plans beforehand, and there is the letter from the environmental committee is asking about the MRC. And I did not see it on the plan. If you can show that also.
So I apologize. We did not receive, I did not receive a comment letter from the EAC. I am aware that one has been issued, but have not had a chance to review those comments. I have not seen that comment letter.
Do you have an MRC for this project?
An MRC?
Yeah.
So I'll work towards that actually, as it relates to some of the other comments that were issued as part of Benoni's comment letter. There were two comments mainly, a comment and a section of comments mainly that are the bulk of this letter that require revision to the initial land development application. Initially, this project was submitted with the intent to provide a green roof on the roof of the parking structure. Our analysis considered that as a pervious cover, which would then eliminate the need for stormwater management on site. Unfortunately, that is not the case. We would still be required to manage peak rate volume controls for the redevelopment, as the green roof does not qualify as a pervious cover. In discussions with the applicant and the developer, it was ultimately decided that retaining water en route, it was discussed that a green roof would be an acceptable BMP, a best management practice for retention and water quality control of stormwater. However, it would require us to manage a significant volume of water on the roof of the parking structure for the lower, more frequent stormwater events.
Or a cistern. I've seen a cistern
So
in the past.
on the roof, that was the
Yeah, no, it was down on the ground floor. They had a cistern, then they could just kind of recycle the water.
So I'll get to that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do apologize if I'm belaboring the conversation. Ultimately, it was determined that it was impractical for the structural design of the project to contain stormwater within the roof. In order for us to maximize the intended use of this property, which is a parking garage, we elected to remove the 9 surface spaces at ground level. This is a plan no one has seen yet. We have not yet resubmitted plans to the township for review. And have replaced the green roof at the roof of the parking structure with additional parking, which gets us to Vince's 231 spaces. We have pivoted to a more traditional stormwater management design, which includes a subsurface stormwater management facility. We're in the process of that design now, but we intend for that to be a traditional infiltration bed through a use of a combination of pipe and stone material.
So did you test the soil already for infiltration or not yet?
We have not tested this property at this time for soil infiltration. We have rates that were tested for the adjacent property. The surface parking lot at the Porsche facility is an infiltration bed. We did receive, we were the civil consultant for that project as well. We did receive viable infiltration data in that lot. Given the proximity to that infiltration data, we are anticipating that we will get infiltration rates. In the event that we do not, however, we will have to pivot again to an MRC design.
So right now, an MRC is not a part of your design, right?
It is not at this time. We intend to comply with water quality and infiltration requirements through a traditional infiltration design. So that is the bulk of the content as it relates to the Pannoni Land Development Comment Letter. Mainly that there is some revision to the plan necessary associated with the stormwater management design. I can, if you can you zoom into the actual plan here? I can share with you that we intend for this stormwater management bed to reside in this general location, which replaces the parking spaces on the surface lot. It is worth noting that those parking spaces have been removed from scope and has been converted to green space. So we have about 20 feet rather from the right of way line, which is intended to be lawn grass condition. Ultimately, looking at the stormwater elements and the elevations associated with which we intend to capture, a surface stormwater basin, also given its proximity to the pedestrian walking path along West Chester Pike, did not make sense. So everything at this time is considered to, or proposed to be subsurface.
So if I may ask,
Of course,
your sketch D, does that reflect the green surface that you're talking about?
Vince, is this the most recent iteration?
I'm assuming it's that.
Yes, that is correct. Yes.
I mean, I see no green space on the roof, so I'm gonna
Right.
presume that that's,
There's no green space on the road, there's no green, you have the latest and greatest.
Okay.
But while we're on, before we leave the MRC. Was in the analysis.
We have a bunch. Can you move one of these? We have a lot.
Do you wanna come up?
No, it's just a microphone. So we get you on the,
Oh, you, all right, is that good? Is that better? So, we of course have done the studies on both sides, reflect, this is in between both. And we've had some sidebars here relative to green space and what we can do with water uses, because this is not going to be a showroom, because it's going to be a parking garage. We can put the trees that will make everybody happy and do so much more for water control, as you know. The grass is a bad word because that doesn't absorb any water, but the trees that we're agreeing to, the sidebar we're having is about evergreens. The evergreen trees, and making a rainforest in front of that is fine. Because if I'm saying all this because the architect's not here too. So we're not going to be, I'm not concerned about obscuring the front of this project. In fact, it adds to the, it will add to it and it'll add to the security. It'll also be better for light management And we don't need a lot of lighting here because as we said, it's going to be inventory and parking for employees. And because we run a country club here, we're closed at 6 anyway. So lighting is not so much the requirement. I know that's certainly a concern as well. So given some very important matters and great consideration, using that green space in front is a much better trade-off than what thought we were going to be able to glean from the green space on the roof. So it gave it a little bit of evolution. We've been spending a lot of time on this, and we need this right away for many, many reasons. Inventories aren't what they were years ago. They're getting higher. So we're not selling cars. There's no short supply. And in this great state of Pennsylvania, we're not, as we discussed earlier, they're not interested in electric cars. So we have higher inventories of these because manufacturers committed to them and they're shipping them to us. So we have these future coral reefs being shipped to us that require storage. So that's why we're pushing for as many spaces as we can because our inventory levels are higher. And we can't, as we discussed earlier, we can't store Ferraris unless they're under roof. So it's really critically important that we need these extra spaces. So we'll do what we can, and we have the great luxury now of putting in the trees that will make everyone happy to absorb so much more water. So real quickly, I wanted to address the MRC comments.
Up front, did you say?
Wow, she's good. Do you need a job as a salesperson? Because I think you're really good. You bumped me from
a closer.
See, she's good. So thanks. Yeah, thank you.
So we'll continue to work through the arborist comment letter, work with the township and the applicant developer to determine the best layout that meets everybody's needs and desires. I guess close it with that. I'm open to any questions. Certainly happy to answer anything related to engineering. Operations, I would have to pass to the owner.
But let me ask you a question about the lighting inside the garage. Now, I know that there was the intent, or at least it was expressed, that it would be mostly employees using it. It gets dark at 4:30 here. Are the lights in the garage going to be motion censored for the employees when they're walking through the garage?
I believe so. That's an operational question. Motion censored lighting versus standard switch.
That's not a concern. If you'd like that, that's fine.
I just think it might be good for employee safety. I mean, you're going out of your way to keep the lighting down. I understand that. But at the same time, we have to be concerned with the safety of people that are in there, both the employees.
Right, it's 3 months. That's fine. That's not a problem.
To answer the question, the parking garage will meet standard lighting requirements that are deemed safe for pedestrian access. Usually we get questions or concerns about it being too lit. So I wasn't sure if that's the direction you were going in,
No.
but yes, each level of the parking garage will be lit for safety of employee access.
And I'm looking at the rendering. Is that, it's probably under the 45 feet, but is it it's 4 levels of parking?
So it's a 3-story garage with parking on the roof. So
You're on that roof.
essentially,
Okay, I just want to make sure.
What is the height?
the height is 35. I have it right. I apologize. I don't have it. Parapet wall are. They don't have the exact height. I apologize. We are below the 45-foot threshold that would require a zoning variance for building height. And we intend to keep that.
Okay.
And by definition in our zoning code, parking on the roof counts as the roof.
Never had that
Well, I
question.
think they're limited in accordance with the building code. I think that our zoning is specific to the roof height from the average grade. That's what our height definition is based on.
Oh, no, so it's just,
So I don't think it matters whether or not you're parking on the roof or if it's a flat roof. And
I'm just asking that,
Yeah,
because it's really, in my mind, functionally, it's 4 stories. I understand, there's 4 different levels as I
Well,
look at the
stories
rendering.
measured between the floor and the roof surface above. So in this case, there would not be a roof surface above.
Right. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure we got our ducks in a row.
Will the fact that
And considering that, the fact that there will be cars on that roof deck, you mentioned a parapet, that is to shield the headlights, I assume, from crossing West Chester Pike and maybe shining into residential properties across the street?
It
That
is.
parapet is there, correct?
The parapet is there, that is one of
And
the
keeping
functions.
cars up there.
Yeah, and to keep the cars up.
everybody's diving right now.
It does serve the purpose of the headlights as part, also lighting. At night.
Right.
So since the beginning, you planned on having a green roof, the fact that you eliminated that, did that allow you to store more cars on the roof, or that was the plan from the beginning?
That's design, but it does look like it's shining through.
So that we did.
Well, it would have been nice, but if you had this project in Philadelphia, you would get that cut.
Yes,
That'd be fine.
it comes with other issues.
While we're looking at, talking about the parapets, I'm just noticing the rendering. Second, third, see-through grate parapets. That's not to negate headlights coming across the road. Right.
What section are you referencing?
I'm looking at the rendering of the parking garage, and that's metal grate parapet walls. You see headlights right through it.
Yeah, the upper level is structural.
And so, hey, that's an architectural feature. So we can work to make that more okay.
Back, if you like the metal grate back cut, have a
Yeah.
back plate on it.
So we're trying to keep some consistency in the look, which is story. So we were making it mirror that meets the
Yeah.
appropriate.
No, I agree. You're just why the point was brought up about headlights going across the road. That's
Correct.
say that.
No, on the front side, it's a see-through fence.
and level
Yeah.
in the front.
It's like a grate,
Yeah, but do you think?
Right.
It's
structural on the
So
top
we can-
level.
If you just make it. Amend that to make it, as I said, more opaque, we could. Give us a parking garage, we're very flexible, we're also not bound to any manufacturing standards, so we can be much more pliable. Whereas the buildings that we've been talking about in the past are bound to manufacturer requirements. And they have to be aesthetically. Here, we're much more flexible.
But we do want it to be attractive.
Exactly, and we'd like to marry some of the architectural features for both buildings. That's a continuity, which, and when the next bomb, once you prove this, when we come to you with classic car situation. That will be more beautiful, because again, we're not bound to any requirements. Really great. We think that very important to turning that corner. We want it to be for aesthetic.
So it's your intention to come back with a revised plan?
We do intend to resubmit, yes.
Obviously, for additional improvement.
Yeah.
That goes,
Before,
because we really value respect.
do we have any public comment?
Yes.
Can you? Paul, name and address, please.
Paul Seligson, 4727 Mill Hollow Lane. Not only do I live right down the street from this, but also I'm the chairman of Newtown Square and Bloom. And I come to you with that in mind. And this is more of a plea. What I'm hearing, I'm very kind of pleased with. I really appreciate that they're taking out the parking places in front of the now existing black building, and that's going to be stormwater underneath the soil, and it's going to have trees. I just want the look to be as treed up and as landscaped as possible. In Newtown Square and Bloom, we're going through an assessment from American Bloom. We're the only Pennsylvania village in town that belongs to America in Bloom. And that's a nationwide organization of small villages and towns all over the place. And we're the only Pennsylvania member. And we're just now doing our assessment. And our assessment keeps bringing up to us community vitality and also urban forestry and also care and concern about floral displays. And what we really are trying to do is make Newtown Square in terms of as attractive and as beckoning to the prospective retail user as possible. We want people to stop here. We don't want them to use it constantly as a drive-through. We want them to stop and shop and patronize. And we would like them to do that to Ferrari and Porsche as well. And the greener it is, the better it goes. And so I do want you to, I just have one suggestion, and that is to look at the wall right below Wawa or below Whole Foods. When that was put together maybe over 10 years ago, there was a huge controversy here in town about how the wall would look. And at that time, it was the developer said, we're going to plant one sort of tree, one species of trees along the wall. And I came up at that time when I was then the EAC chairman, what Sheila is today. And I said, try to do different species of trees. And so instead of just having only evergreens, if you look at the wall today, it has evergreens, but it also has some deciduous. It has some tall trees, some skinny trees, some fatter trees, all different shapes and kinds. And that makes for a really, really good look. We have a living example of that here in town. So if I implore you a little bit to just think about that and make it interesting and very treed up.
Well, we recently employed someone who has been doing business since 1985. So I just called him in because I don't like what we have in front of the And of course, said, well, why stop there? So we're continuing on. It's also to work with you because when you say burying, I'm fine with that, provided it's
Exactly.
it's like a wild card.
No.
That's about such things. We also are having an argument right now. You'll be very happy because I put Marco Bite in front of the ugly black ball that we and we've added quite a lot of greenery in front. And we're not finished.
What's Tim's last name?
The landscape architect. Actually, it's Dave Scott from Laurel Oaks Landscape, based in New Jersey. But I think we drawn in with college. He's got an advanced degree and he's done every personal property that I've owned since 1985. I'm now bringing him into the commercial. He's done much of it. You can work with him.
Perfect.
I'm sure. I have no problem with as many trees.
Thank you very much.
Thank
you.
you. Are you responsible also for those flower?
Yes, that's the coldest.
Yeah, it's his fault.
That's the baby.
Water and then water. All right, well, I
For
think we should, a little bit. Make better policy.
Yes, we do. We do.
I also want to put all those, the utilities should be underground. We should put all these sewers in and we need to put the utilities underground.
Yes,
I'm gonna
anything you
pay
can
For
do.
that. We got to get.
Well-
Just to make Newtown Square beautiful. I'm so sorry, some forces you out.
Absolutely. And you need to set the tone, and you're absolutely right. Sheila O'Sullivan Feeney, I'm the chair of the EAC. I'm so glad, Simone, that you read our EAC letter regarding this property. We put a lot of thoughts in it. And we're delighted that the applicant is here as well, because he sounds committed to the community. And there's a couple things we'll go into it, and we're still a work in progress. We're devastated that they took out the green roof. We thought that was something that they didn't have to do, but they wanted to do. So I understand, business comes down to it, but we always want to look whatever we can do for the environment. So that's something to consider. We do ask you to have bioswales or rain gardens, especially for the water that you're controlling. You mentioned in your March meeting, 95% of your property is impervious surface. That's a scary number. And so also at the back of your elevation, all of your water comes to the front. So that is West Chester Pike. So it will impact everyone in Newtown Square. There's also a bus stop there, and there's also a rain grate out front. So everything you can do to help mitigate the stormwater is crucial. You also have an internal road, which will again be based on the elevation points you're coming down. So it's something we're asking you, look at bioswales, look at rain gardens, look at everything possible. We're also going to ask you to reconsider maybe putting back the green roof. And I'll tell you why. You mentioned back in your March meeting when you became before the board that you have to have 100 cars parked at the Henderson Group right now. Your car parking lot originally was for 201, and with the 9 spots out front, you were at 210. But now that you took out the green roof, you're back to 231. I know you don't need to do the green roof for your codes or requirements, but think about putting that back in from an environmental win. And I'll tell you why. You can still have your stormwater management on the ground, but you are talking a massive part of your entire service is impervious surface. We also ask you to consider impermeable products whenever possible. Maybe that back way or the road or something else. There are new technologies, so just don't think of concrete and blacktop. Another thing we asked you to consider is, since so much of your product, your property will be a heat island, which is really what you're creating here, we asked you to use cool and reflective materials and permeable pavements. And we also ask you, whenever possible, there's shades that you can help mitigate the heat there, because those other properties, your Porsche dealership had to go through land development. Your Ferrari dealership did not go through full land development. So we don't know if in fact you are compliant with stormwater because you didn't have to go through that process. So. Right.
By the way. It actually increased.
Yes, and unfortunately, it should have never been in that situation, but I think that road was put in after the fact, so we can't discuss that. Another thing we want to make sure that we're really important, that because this property is zoned in 2 categories, both an R1 and a C1, we did ask that the green space, and if you look back on the map, guys, if you see in the corner here, this little triangle here, this is part of the residential and the rest is commercial. And what we would like for you to make sure this happens, that any green space that abuts Boot Road, that's calculated in the green space, that property clearly be deemed dedicated and deeded so this property cannot be subdivided or added to additional properties along Boot Road, because although the applicant is great, he's going to be living there. We don't want this top to be used in different applications for green space. We want it to be calculated with this product.
Clarification. And here's the plan, parking garage. I caught it and they caught it, that little triangle. Extension.
Right.
And point that none of it came into play in making the calculation.
Right.
For the C1 commercial. So,
But you could heavily forest that area as well. We ask you, and remember too, you are talking about 3 car dealerships. With that comes an increased amount of sound. So we would like anything you can do to help mitigate stormwater, but also sound and lights. Because it is going to be a bit of a tunnel effect. And since the applicant will be living there, you're gonna benefit from all of these improvements.
Very positively disposed to that delineation.
Right.
The evergreens there. Now, also, you mentioned kind of sailing right through with a Ferrari store. With the HOP approval. Things, actually, we spent $1 million reconfiguring those driveways. They're matted as it flows in onto Ray, and we put all new rates and water management in front of that. Everything is brand new.
That's awesome. And we appreciate
I want
that.
you to know that we did our own analysis.
Good.
Even though we did it. And really, principally, it was a win-win because we needed to access that, take the entrance to dealership.
Yeah, and you've done a great job with the green space along, and what I love is that you're deciding to take out the grass whenever possible and putting in trees and using other materials and planting and things. Another thing that we would ask for you, we mentioned the bioswales. Oh, the property, along the property that you show existing trees, and this is in your plans. When you went before the board, you showed that there were trees existing here when you
Yes.
went before the Ferrari dealership. But then those trees moved over. They were on this side before, but now they're on this side. So both plans show trees being existing, but
Well,
there
we're
were,
going to re-landscape.
but there were no, as of last week, there were no trees there. So just as long as we're clear on that.
Because that area discussed about the drive-through, where
Right.
we looked at combination of green paths. Once that's done, we have to see what type of trees will survive.
Yes. And remember, you've got other conditions, you've got salt and things of that. And I will ask you if you can, the 231, you identified your needs in your previous with getting the Henderson parking as 100 cars being parked up there. You're going up to 201 was a reasonable, it was double the 200% of the original need that was identified. If you can consider going back to the 201 parking spots, add the green roof. First of all, it's a benefit to the community. It doesn't get you maybe credits in terms of stormwater, but it is a good thing to do to help mitigate stormwater in that area. Also, aesthetically, it'll be a way for you to be at the top of your kingdom. You'll look at both of your facilities. You'll be able to enjoy the kingdom. What a place to sell your cars. You're at the top of your garage looking at, and all you have to do is say, pick your spot because, but I'm telling you, at that top, you are creating an oasis. You're creating a really neat space, and people will be able to just say, hey, you know what? I'm upgrading from my Porsche to my Ferrari.
Well, these are all great. I tell you, we're going to do what we can tactically, put more trees in.
Yes.
But we need to sell more cars to pay my taxes.
Absolutely,
Right.
absolutely. But you gotta remember too, that, you're coming to our community, and although you're going to be living here, and we welcome that, in a community, we're all invested together. Everything we do, we're interconnected. What you go put on your property impacts my breathing. I have a brand new grandchild.
Can I
and we all
ask,
have
you
to-
have meetings and did you go to her meeting?
No, we just got them on the hallway here and started.
Only
talking.
because I guess I'd like to, going forward, have a little more of a summary.
Yes,
And,
we did,
and have some of done in the, I hate to say back room,
Yes.
but I think that for our functioning here.
yes, exactly. And we did
So we
submit our
can-
EAC letter, but also, guys, the plans just changed. Our plan was July 19th, so these plans changed. So it's a moving target. So yes, we should be succinct, but we also have new information that just came available to us.
All right,
So,
we're gonna see him back again.
Yeah,
so, but we're gonna see him back, and hopefully he agrees to all these
That
things to
will
help our
work.
environment.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I just checked, no more, couple of comment? We're good?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I think we got everyone.
You scheduled it perfect. We want all our meetings in the summer. Water.
I just want to say that as far as acting to trying to integrate best job possible. I've had the pleasure and the good fortune of representing transformational developers. First one was SAP America, which was a boost upgrade along that corridor. But that corridor was still pretty nice. Transval is the second transformation along a much difficult corridor that not very attractive. He's got his heart in the right place. Sometimes I listen to him and I said, gee, I'm a businessman, but do that, but he'll do what he can to.
So do we think it'll be a month or you'll be 2 months to come? Oh, we don't have a meeting next month, right? August?
Or is that Wednesday meeting, the new meeting?
That's the boy run meeting.
Solely board.
I think so.
Offset the need for a regular.
Do we have one in August? Yeah.
meeting.
We have a regular meeting in August.
So, okay, well, so we'll see you in a month or two at the most, I guess.
But we have to change. And because we're not bound by any. The next month. You hear that? Jay?
Not tomorrow. He didn't really hold you to tomorrow.
Yes.
Yeah. And I noted the list of agreements that have got to be at the end of the township engineer's comments.
Okay. And Jay, is your dad Jay? I know a Jay Tackett. That's a,
My
Nope.
father's name is not Jay.
oh, that would be of your father's age. Eh?
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
brevity.
Thank you.
That was important. Having a hometown. That was, didn't know each other. And it's also good to see that we build what we tell you. And I noted, we put more, they're not finished, but we put more trees in them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good night.
So, I don't see anybody.
Yeah,
So at one point,
we're holding on for the lump sum payment.
No, we are thinking about, we are debating whether Porsche or Ferrari.
exactly. Now, I want you to know, this is off the record. We, at one point, we're still on.
Yeah.
We can say this. Oh, quite funny. I wanted to give a card to the police. They said, yeah, that's great. Imagine the taxpayer feedback when they see a police car. And,
Fair.
say, all right. Well, sign up for that.
Provided by.
Yeah, you get away with murder the way you take the test drives.
Yeah.
Well, if you go on the Autostrada in Italy, you see the Carabinieri driving Ferraris and
They do.
Lamborghinis.
They do, and
Yeah.
I was trying to do my part.
Yeah.
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 So at any rate, yeah, we're happy this year. Had a great week. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a good night. So the last item, I guess, has everyone seen the enhanced Bishop Hollow Road pedestrian facility part of the packet?
Yes,
Anybody have questions, comments?
no.
I'm fine with it. I'm
Yeah,
not saying you
fine.
have to be. Any public comment on it since we have someone from the public?
To us.
Yeah. Okay, so then I'll make a motion that we sign the letter as pre-written.
I think they want a letter in, you have a.
Yeah, maybe everyone didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't get the letter. I just got the memorandum.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're just
so-
asking
Yes.
for that letter be signed in your support of us seeking grant funding for sidewalks.
100% in favor.
Go for it.
Yeah, so motion to approve, the letter in my hand.
I'll move, I'll second,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. And she'll send me one with letterhead and all, I guess, and I'll sign it tomorrow. Yeah, I just signed in the PDF and sent it back.
Yeah, that's an.
Why not?
Okay, do we have a motion to close?
Make a motion to close.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
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 So we're gonna meet